Leadership matters. It matters. And good leaders, whether bad or good, can actually get a following. If you follow politics done right for a long time, I've constantly said most people are good, and I believe that. But also, most people have the ability to be led. And under all kinds of circumstances, they can be led by those who are good, and they can be led by those who are bad. This morning, I woke up to the Hartman report. I read the report every morning and I reblog it, repost it to my website because it's usually prescient information, usually very good and well-researched information. And today, the title of Tom Hartman's piece was titled, "Trump Brutally Represents an American Version of the Taliban." And, you know, it brought back memories. 11 years ago, a friend of mine and the person who created the Daily Kos, I remembered a book that I reviewed back then, and it was titled American Taliban. And interesting enough, 11 years ago, Markos Moulitsas in a detailed manner itemized the similarities between the leadership of the Republican Party and what was emanating from them and promulgated by the people who they led. He showed these similarities between the right and the Taliban, and he called it the American Taliban. And here, 11 years later, one would think that this great democracy would sort of self-correct, understand that having us, some sect of our society behaving like that American version of the Taliban would somehow set itself right. And this morning again, reading the Trump brutally represents an American version of the Taliban really woke me up, should wake everybody up. Let's first remember that the fiasco that we're seeing in Afghanistan right now, the genesis of that fiasco is Donald Trump and Mike Pompeo's arrangement with the Taliban, the release of the new leader of the Taliban from I think it's a Pakistani prison, to then create a new agreement in effect freezing out the what I'd call a corrupt Taliban government. I mean the corrupt Afghani government that we put in, but given that country to who is now to the Taliban. And you kind of wonder, why would an American president who supposedly believes in democracy do that? Why would he have thought about bringing this leader to the United States for bringing the Taliban to the United States for a Camp David Accord? Why would he have even thought that in his mind if there was some symbiotic relationship or symbiotic belief or symbiosis in what they believe? Well, you've got to read the article, Trump Brutally Represents an American Taliban. And now almost the entire Republican Party has chosen to go down the same Taliban paved path with him. What could possibly go wrong? Tom Hartman said the following: today's GOP, on the other hand, has become something that would be entirely unrecognizable to Nixon or Eisenhower's, two prominent Republicans. It's become an American version of the Taliban. Lest you think that's hyperbolic, consider these parallels. The Taliban, as my Sirius XM colleague Dean Obedela pointed out last week in his MSNBC commentary, don't believe women should have any social or political rights. Today's Republicans occupy much the same space, refusing to vote for the Equal Rights Amendment, refusing to reauthorize the Violence Against Women Act, and proposing to put women who try to get an abortion, even when raped, in prison, along with anybody who may try to help them. 228 Republican members of Congress even signed a brief to the Supreme Court asking it to overturn Roe versus Wade, saying they are interested in protecting women from dangerous abortion while upholding the integrity of the medical profession. Republicans like the Taliban don't believe women should be in the workplace and so work to actively discourage them by refusing to vote for legislation ensuring they get the same pay as similarly qualified men. And he continues, North Carolina, for example, is showing now that it is anti-democratic. The party itself has become anti-democratic. Neither the Taliban nor the Republican Party believe in democracy. Look at how Wisconsin, North Carolina, Michigan, and Pennsylvania, among others, states where a majority or near majority of voters chose Democrats in the last election, all gerrymandered their states to send a majority of Republicans to Congress and keep the GOP in control of their state legislature. This even though statewide a majority of voters chose Democrats, as evidenced by their having Democratic governors. North Carolina, for example, which voted a 50-50 statewide Democratic Republican in 2016, ended up sending 3 Democrats and 10 Republicans. That's not democracy. And Tom went on and on to show where there is a congruency between the Republican Party, and I want to qualify this. Much of this is way over the heads of the average Republican voter, the average Republican person who's just a committed Republican, the Eisenhower Republican. That's who they are. And they're culturally Republicans, but their party has gone haywire. The leadership of their party has gone haywire. And the conclusion of that, there's much more in Tom's article, but January 6th proved that they were and are ready to take the other step, the violent step that the Taliban takes. In other words, a lot of it was rhetoric, a lot of it was anti-democratic, a lot of it was using our laws to the max to take power. But now, January 6th showed that they could take it to the other level, to the next step. They threatened the governor of Michigan. They threatened others that have been trying to promote true democracy. But January 6th showed their propensity to do much more. This stuff has got to be neutered. This stuff has got to be neutered now before it gets out of control. And a message to my fellow friends, progressives, Democrats who are currently ganging up on President Biden for things that he hadn't necessarily done perfectly right, or things that he hadn't done the way we want it done. We have, especially in these times, we have got to be pragmatic. We have got to be strategic. Because if we allow the disinformation, if we allow the American Taliban to infect the psyche, not only of the cultural Republican, but the disaffected Democrat who thinks, Biden is not turning out to be what we wanted him to be. Biden is turning out to be a lot better than I wanted Biden to be from a progressive standpoint. Not as good as he should be, but that is our job as progressives to do. Our job as progressives is to ensure that we can promote what we know most people say they want into their vote as well, into having confidence in voting for us. It is our job to do that. And yes, the headwinds are huge, but it is our job. Life ain't easy. If we are to prevent the American Taliban from being the reality of this country, it is imperative that what we do is be strategic and effective, but most importantly, let's be humble. Let's understand that not because we think we know exactly how things should be, that everybody else should or they're just stupid. That's not the case. Let's do our job and let's make everybody understand that we are on their side and let them understand as well. We cannot allow the continued growth of the American Taliban. We spend a lot of time deconstructing the news, trying to parse it into a form that everybody can understand. We try to find those little nitpicks where it flies above the fray, etc. If you really like these videos that we do, I want to ask a big favor. Please go ahead, number one, subscribe to our channel, and number two, please join if you can. Thank you so kindly for watching. Keep watching. Please remember to share. We must populate the entire internet with our progressive message, a message that we know is what most Americans say that they want. So help us, please join.